Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Brendan and welcome back to another Bitcoin technical analysis and price prediction. And despite Bitcoin falling over the past couple of days, it is indeed still very bullish, and I want to talk about the upside potential that it has in the not so distant future, because I still think it's very possible for Bitcoin to hit between 54,000 and 60,000 in the coming days here. So if that sounds interesting at all, make sure you stick around for the entire duration of this video, as there will be important information discussed the entire way through. But that being said, let's go ahead and dive on into this, because a couple of days ago in the Discord I was talking about this falling channel on Bitcoin, and I want to explain this in a little bit more detail. Now, Bitcoin's been in a pretty methodical movement upwards, as I talked about in the last video, and what I mean by that is it's nothing complicated. Again, it's very simple, so you don't have to be an expert in technical analysis to understand that, or to understand this, but we've been moving up, we've been pulling back, we've been moving up, we've been pulling back, we moved up again, and we pulled back again. And in the previous video I explained it wouldn't be crazy for Bitcoin to actually pull back below the 50 EMA, which is this yellow line, because we've seen that several times before, where we land ourselves on this 4-hour chart in between the 50 EMA, which is right up here, this yellow line, and the 200 EMA, which is this like pinkish purple line. So with Bitcoin doing this, again, we've seen this several times. We saw this happen right over here. We saw this happen just afterwards. And of course, we saw this time again, and Bitcoin continued to use this support line as a support, even though it was below the 50 EMA. So it wasn't all that much of a bearish thing to see. So of course, this being a no difference from the previous times, we saw a new monthly high. We pulled back a little bit. It happened to be right below the 50 EMA, and now we're heading back upwards. So I continue to believe that this pattern will continue until it's broken, or maybe at least until we retest this support line again, or maybe that's even the 200 EMA, but there's a lot of support in between where we're at right now and even below here. So I do think that resistance at this point is weaker than support. Because if we go back to this daily chart, I want to look at exactly what resistance we have over here in this area, because it's nothing that is too great or too crazy in my opinion. So of course we have this previous top of this descending triangle, which is, or excuse me, not descending triangle, this head and shoulders pattern that we are now using as resistance. Again, previous support right in this area of $50,000, now turning into resistance, and this makes perfect sense. So this is going to be a pretty steep level of resistance to break, but if this does break, I don't see anything stopping Bitcoin from going to around $54,000, which is where we're going to see just a tad bit of resistance, and then I think anywhere between 54 and 55 is going to be a little bit of a pocket of resistance for Bitcoin. Now, after this, I don't see much stopping it from $60,000. That's going to be where these the tops of the side shoulders started rounding out, and above that we do have the all-time high of $65,000. So when I'm looking at kind of levels of resistance on Bitcoin, it's going to be 54,000, I would say 60,000, and then of course the all-time high of 65,000. Now, what does that exactly mean for Bitcoin in this current state? Because with Bitcoin still floating around this support line, most significantly still on top of a golden cross and still at a relative close level of support, Bitcoin doesn't look so bad. Now again, it's at resistance, so we have to understand that the resistance is still very visible, but we can see that bulls are very comfortable in this area buying. We're seeing a lot of buying potential when we do get down into that mid $40,000 area. We saw that on the previous pullbacks, and we're still seeing that at this pullback as ultimately a higher swing low than the past time. So if I am looking for an entry, I want to get it maybe a little bit closer to this support line, but that's again, not too far off, not too crazy, but I do see these as continual buy the dip opportunities, because I don't see any kind of a reversal here. I don't see like a head and shoulders pattern like we saw the last time, or any kind of just impending awful divergence on the RSI or the MACD. In fact, it looks like the negative divergence that we have on this daily is already drying up, and on the RSI you could make an argument that we want to pull back to an ultimate higher swing low. But again, even then, you do have a little bit of bearish divergence over here, but I don't think that it's too bad, because we've come down into this neutral territory a couple of times and saw this bounce. So I think ultimately the trend has reversed for Bitcoin. We are back in a bullish state. And one could even argue that this is almost a descending triangle, because we have relatively the same level of resistance, and I want to break this down on like a oh, that was a 3-hour. On a 4-hour, we can see that we have relatively the same level of resistance and this climbing level of support. So that does make me think that the resistance is going to lead to be broken, and it's actually going to be weaker than the support levels in this area. So hopefully that does make sense. I am noticing that volume is falling off. Not too much of a crazy thing. Again, we're entering into the weekday, into the weekend, and we also have a holiday coming up here in the United States. Not too much of a crazy thing to see volume fall off. It does make me think, though, that a pretty large move could be coming. When volume tends to fall off at a steady rate like this, it's only a matter of time until you see a larger move to come, almost like we are in preparation for something. Money is on the sidelines and kind of waiting for the opportunity, and that's kind of what I can tell from the volume being at the level that it's at. Some people like using volume, other people don't. I think it's a lot of it's personal preference, but in crypto I certainly like to look at it. EMAs on the 1 day are looking still very strong. We haven't touched either of them in some time, so maybe we'll see a pullback at some point and touch one of these two EMAs. But again, we just reversed, so it's not too surprising that we haven't touched these, because if we just reversed, I do imagine that we're going to be kind of parabolic to the upside. Eventually, we will see, in my opinion, a pullback to one of these EMAs. Maybe we go straight through the 50 and to the 200. Maybe we just end up blocking or stopping at the 50 and continuing upwards from there. But I don't see this as, again, still too bad of a situation for Bitcoin. I will continue to buy the dips. I had buy orders in here, and I'm certainly happy that I was able to get them in. So that's going to be it for the end of this technical analysis. If you do have any questions, make sure to comment those in the comment section down below. I love being able to interact with you and answer those questions and hear your feedback. But if you do want to see more videos like this one, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We got a lot more content like this coming out in the not so distant future, and this will keep you in the loop. Make sure to turn on notifications, but until the next video, everyone, I will see you all next time.